welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I am a registered nurse, second career, 30 years in IT. My RN experience is mainly in hospice and palliative care, and I'm currently on the journey to be a certified end-of-life-doula, and I'm also a book author of a large number of books, or at least a growing number of books. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for visiting. In this channel, we talk about hospice topics, holistic nursing, holistic health topics, topics about death and dying, including anticipatory grief that comes before somebody dies and grief that comes afterwards, as well as how do we manage certain aspects of that. Sometimes we'll delve into book writing tools such as using Canva or other tools as well. And if these are topics of interest, feel free to subscribe. And if you like what you're seeing, please like. And if you have questions, comment below. This is a non-judgmental channel. Now, today's topic is going to be about how resilience can help you reinvent yourself when you have a crisis. And before we go into that topic and that discussion, I'd like to do what I encourage everyone coming here to do, what I try to do every single day, sometimes more often than once, is ask yourself, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? I believe that if you can have multiple layers to build up resilience, for me, it's my faith in Christ Jesus. It is by trying to have a heart of gratitude. It's by looking at areas to forgive and just walking forward and not just refusing to let the punches take me down. That builds resilience. It toughens the skin, so to speak. So in terms of what I am grateful for, as we head into the end of this month, that's just, Saturday's around the corner. Um, I'm still a little bit speechless. That's figuratively, because obviously I'm talking now. My best month in terms of book sales was this past February with 585, or was it five? No, I'm sorry, 595 books sold. And I didn't think we'd ever do that good again. Because that was in February, then March was less, and April less. And when I say less, it was still a very good amount, more than January, for example, but far less than February. But as of now, right now at the time of this filming, 680 books sold. And I'm like, this is what I might actually hit 700 books. The majority of them, about 150, are my number one bestseller. And then coming up, well, second place, second to third tends to be this. And then coming up, and I may have it hidden under, no, we don't. Coming up rather fast is this one. Uh, Marie, who runs a number of courses to help nurses, LPNs, and RNs. Let us remember we're both licensed personnel to be able to work remotely, either utilization review, triage, diabetic coaching, and she's actually requiring nurses who take two of her three courses to buy this book, whether it's ebook, paperback, or hardcover. So thank you, Marie, for that. So I'm grateful for all of that. I'm grateful that my wife Laura gave permission. We talk, and we don't just go ahead and do things in our marriage if it's something significant. And so she knows that as I'm moving forward in my own reinvention, not just writing books, but in becoming a doula, that part of what I want to do is legacy work, which most likely will, not guaranteed, but involve photography and videography. And so she allowed me to get the necessary equipment, and that should be here over the next day or two. So hopefully, the next time you see me on YouTube, I might be using the camera that I purchased. More on that later. That'll be that surprise. And we'll see if that makes any video difference. I know you're not watching this for the videos. I'm nothing. I don't think I'm anything to look at, but I'm grateful for those, and I'm glad that things are happening here in Kentucky that weren't happening elsewhere. I'm grateful for Ted and Susan, who this past Memorial Day reached out early in the morning. Would we want to come, Laura and I, come over to their house to visit? It's our first time visiting them. And my wife and I are very private individuals, and we didn't know what to expect. So we went in the afternoon and was pleasantly surprised. I thought, and Ted, if you're watching this, I was happy with the end result, but I thought it might be a 45-minute to an hour visit. Uh, but it was like, several hours later. And then my Susan is an avid gardener. She uses the word grower, and so we came home with several plants to put out. And Susan, if you're watching this, Laura did plant them to my knowledge, and we got some good fertilizer from fish. So it was a very pleasant visit, and so I'm thankful to God for all of these things, and that's my gratitude. And I probably have more, but I do want to move on to today's topic. So as I've been going through my own journey of reinvention, um, June of last year, if you go back and watch episodes 1 and 2 on this channel, I, uh, I adore hospice. I adore hospice. My next update, by the way, will include an update. I'm working towards being a hospice volunteer at a local inpatient unit. No one's hiring for 8-hour shifts, so I'm odd. If I can't get paid to work for them as a nurse, I'll work for free, but at least I determine when I work, granted for free. But here, I like helping people. So here, last June, um, and it actually started last May. I can't say around this time because we're heading towards the end of May, but right around the middle of last May, um, certain things started happening that didn't make sense to me at work. And I don't know if Courtney from Nurses for Change from on LinkedIn will ever see this video, but she posts a lot of questions for people to think about what it's like to work with neurodiverse nurses. And how do these neurodiverse nurses feel? And I enjoy her case studies because I am part of the autism spectrum. And I was just putting in, today, a lot of times everyone else knows the rules somehow, but I don't. And then you cross a boundary you didn't know even existed because no one put it in writing and no one talked to you about it. And the next thing you know, you're in trouble. So here I had on in mid-May had a glioblastoma cancer patient. One of family members asked me about rapidly moving cancers, and rather than going over the whole story, but like ever since I answered their question truthfully, based on Dr. Patrick Gilhol's answer to a previous hospice agency's entire hospice team, the entire team, about side effects about certain products that you still can't mention in certain areas. Um, I was under more close observation. And so I don't know if it was because of answering that patient family members truthfully, or if it was because on June 14th, my lung cancer patient asking for palliative sedation. But trying to keep things moving along. Here I get called in the office and given a story of why I'm no longer a fit for the agency. They have nothing for me, and time to just hand my laptop in, the work phone and my badge and everything else that was their property, which I did. But that's a crisis. And I watch a number of YouTube channels where people have gotten laid off left and right or fired or whatever the reasons may be. And there's people who go through, middle age crisis. But looking from the standpoint of resilience, and I do believe to a degree, you can let a crisis crush you. And the reason I say to a degree, because if you don't build resilience, that crisis may have you so close to the ground level that it may not. What I'm talking about in this episode, you might be saying, Peter, that's impossible for me. And I want to be sensitive to you and to others in your position that right now it may not be the time. And in fact, for me, for close to I think it was from June 14th to, it was all the way to the end of June. And I think it was only in the beginning of July that I'm finally coming out of water, so to speak. And I'm asking myself, what can I do now? Because I was, for someone like me, it was an awkward situation because anyone who knows me as a hospice nurse, the families generally love me, and I'm generally well received. Now, I don't make everybody happy all the time. There are people like I've been fired as a nurse by patients. I don't want you, and that's fine. I'm never not going to be everyone's cup of tea, so to speak. But I'm like, I really enjoy hospice. What now? Because I had left an agency in January that wouldn't honor my request to work part-time, and they were like the average was 50 hours a week. I was burning out fast, and so that meant 80-hour weeks. The shortest week was a 40-hour week, but it was averaging 50. And I'm not trying to complain, so I'm trying to say I couldn't go back there because they didn't have a part-time position. And I'm like so concerned, like I was there from February to June. What, they said they'd give me a good reference, but will they? I don't know. And then on top of that, my wife is saying, well, now's the time to start moving and looking at houses. And so what am I going to do? Because I don't want to. Uh, I do believe certain types of non-disclosure is not the same as lying, but I do believe there are times non-disclosure is very unethical. And for me, it would have been unethical to go apply somewhere. And I have my actually have my resume handy, but too far to reach right now. But I want to go. Yeah, here's my resume. I'm whatever I am for you. And behind the scenes, without their knowledge, I'm looking to move to Kentucky, and I might be there 2 months, 3 or 4, and then handing in my 2-week notice. That's not fair for them. That's unethical to me. So I'm trying to think, what could I do to reinvent myself? And and I went to my to-do list, my bucket list. I have like a half a dozen to a dozen fiction stories that I want to write. I have one of the books that I've written. It wasn't my first. I have this that I started writing back March, April of 2023, but because of working that many hours, uh, didn't complete it. And by the way, I don't mind ever pointing out when somebody does a better job than I do. I do appreciate the work I did here. It's a journal to keep track of, like you gave your PRN meds and track changes in condition, and there's some going over some why this matters and so on and so forth. But in terms of like someone else that did a 1,000% better job, is the hospice care plan a path for comfort? So they the Susan Block and Ira, I'm going to kill the last name, but this is this is a far better job. Other than, not only does it look prettier because it's done in color on far better paper. I took the cheaper route, um, but they did a better job. But here I ended up saying, okay, let me. I know that there's a niche for this. I know there's a niche for this, and it took me a while to wrap my head around it because I didn't want to compete with Shelley Henry, who has a wonderful set of pocket-based laminated uh, books dealing with documentation. But I thought, let me approach her from a different route, and I'm gonna pray to God and see how it does. And this sells anywhere from 130 to over 150. I don't have the exact counts every month memorized, but overall, I had a phrase. Ever since January, it's been bringing in by itself about 1,000 a month in royalties. Um, and not every book that I've written sells. Some books, like this book here, might sell 50 copies a month. So it's not going to be anywhere close to the other one. Part of the reasons I did series is not every book's going to be somebody's cup of tea either. And so if I can fill different areas of knowledge gaps, just as a for instance, I have in review by Amazon a vigil planning guide. And if you go on Amazon to the book section and you look for books to tell you how do you plan and execute a vigil and do it for the best outcome for the patient and family, I found none. Now, I do know none. Maybe there's a reason why no one wrote a book. And and my book might be too comprehensive. 311 pages, 10 chapters, 10 appendices, including forms, checklists, templates, cultural guides, lots of information. But somebody may go and say, gee, they don't want to pay, the 24.95 for it. That's too much money. Or they may say that's way too much information for me. I need the Barbara Carnes. I need something that's this size and like $3 to $5. Um, but I write my way, so to speak. My book's not that every single book is thick, but I tend to write more detailed. But that was my way of reinventing myself. Now you might be saying, as you're watching this, Peter, I've been watching this, and maybe you're just barely hanging on to my words. I'm about to just hit the stop button because I don't have a book in me, and even though I believe everyone has a book in them, waiting to come out, and I'm willing to help brainstorm with you initially for free, and I'll take it as far for free as I can. But let's talk about another route. And I did put another. There's a thumbnail to this video, and there were two thumbnails. By the way, I do not look as good as that AI generated image of a male nurse who got a termination letter and now is a book author, nor am I famous. Um, but there's another image on that thumbnail, and that's an image of a CNA that's struggling to fit in, and they made a decision to become an end-of-life doula. And you might be saying to yourself, Peter, I'm not even a CNA. A end-of-life doula is a non-medical. CNA is a medical person. A nurse is a medical person. A end-of-life doula is a non-medical support person. And you might be going, I don't understand this word doula. And I appreciate all my viewers. I appreciate Robert coming in on my one video and saying he didn't understand what the word legacy meant. And I apologize, Robert, that I didn't go over that. So if you've ever heard of birthing doulas or midwives, these are support persons that help somebody come into the world. Well, an end-of-life doula is somebody that helps them go out. And we're not talking about killing them or forcing them out, just like a birthing doula doesn't force the baby out, they coach. And I like Pamela Carter. She's one of the executive members of the International Doula Life Movement. Anna Adams is the founder. Founder Pamela Carter's one of the executive members and has been with Anna uh, in this program for a very long time. Uh, but she calls herself a transition coach. I help people transition from this life into the next. And if you research, and when I say research, for me, research, I'm digging deep, but it doesn't have to be. If you research end of life doulas, they come from all walks of life. You don't need a medical background. You don't need a medical background. Now, I'd love to be able to show you an author copy of the books I've recently written. I have three of them about becoming a death doula. There's one combined book that's 8.5 by 11. And then there's two separate books. One is the Foundations in Practice, and the other one's Growing Your Practice. Uh, I'm still waiting for them to come in from Amazon, so I'm hoping to get them mid to late June. That's the one downside for author copies. Plus side, they only charge you a small amount for they charge you, I shouldn't say small, they charge you the print cost plus shipping and handling. But, uh, but here, you could reinvent yourself as an end of life, a transition specialist. And while I do have a book that can help you if you want to do it on the down low, so to speak, you can afford to take a course. Yes, my books do cost money, but they're far less expensive than a course. You take the book, and if you don't want to buy the book, go to the National End of Life Alliance, National End of Life Alliance, become a member for $50. Download their free study guide, pay them $115 after your membership is shown that you're a member. They advise wait a couple days after you've paid the $50. Study, take their exam, pass, and then you'll have a proficiency badge. You're certified for $165. But if you want more guidance than that, there's my book. But if you want to go upscale to a very reasonable amount, and I don't have pricing memorized and I don't receive a commission, I'm not an affiliate, but as I'm taking classes from the International Doula Life Movement, IDLM, I could not be more impressed. Does every single topic rub me the right way? I'm being transparent and vulnerable? No. There are certain things I disagree with. And what's beautiful about this class is we have open-ended discussions where you can talk in a non-judgmental classroom. So just real quick, and you're going to be laughing, Peter and real quick don't go hand in hand. But we had a discussion in Wednesday's night's class. We're going over, I love Barbara Karn's books 99% of the time, but we were going over her books and when to use them in the doula practice, in the transitioning coach practice. This is the most famous of her books. Uh, this book goes hand in hand with the Gone From My Sight book. Um, there's pain at the end of life to really explain pain. After the person dies is a way to give, instead of saying my condolences and giving a Hallmark card, there's my friend I care, the grief experience. But then she also has a book that, what about those patients that have, they may not be in the last days. They've been told they have 6 months, maybe even a year to live. They're understanding of that, but they want to make the most of it. So she wrote the book A Time to Live, which we were talking about in class. I love her books, but there's an area on page 5 where I have trouble with two paragraphs just because of my nursing background, and I'm not trying to demean bash or whatever. It's just I don't know if I could bring in the book, because I don't know if I agree with 2 paragraphs. That's me. You might read all this and say, Peter, you're nuts. And maybe you're right. I don't have to be right. I could be wrong. And that's the plus side of this class is we could all share where we're coming from. And they have breakout rooms where you can get to meet your other classmates. And even though this is not in person, and they do have in-person classes in certain geographic areas, but you get to meet your different classmates. And so it's reinventing yourself. And you might be saying this, and I'm going to come to a close as I'm watching the clock as this recording's going on. Well, Peter, I don't know how to write books. I don't even feel comfortable. Barbara Carnes, by the way, was sharing how she wrote this book, and she ended up writing it on one of those yellow legal pads. This is thin. This is what? Um, 14 pages if you throw in the insert. Yeah, 15 pages, not including the cover. This is thin. And she ended up becoming her own publisher. You may say, Peter, I can't do any of that, and maybe you don't have an interest in being an end-of-life doula. Well, look at your college courses. Look at your VOTEC courses. And I'm not saying get the whole degree. Take classes you're interested in. Go to the library. Start volunteering. Start networking with other people. Start telling people, saying, I'm not sure what I want to do around the corner, but this is what I feel called to. And I believe you're going to be able to reinvent yourself. I believe you're going to be happier with the outcome, even though there might be bumpy starts. There was bumpy starts when I wrote this. I did not know a single book would sell. When I wrote this, I did not even know how to best market it because I did not want to compete with Shelley's books. Uh, but I prayed, I published, and the first month it was like 80 books. Now I think it was maybe 100 to 150. I'd have to look in terms of the dollars. Nothing to live on. Uh, but it was like I'm gonna go down the journey. I like doing this. And if you want to try to brainstorm, comment below. Right now, I don't know when things are going to change for me now, but as of this filming, I'm still not employed from an employment perspective. Yes, I started Compassion Crossing LLC, and I'm self-employed. Uh, but right now, there's not a revenue stream. And I'm working on brochures for Compassion Crossing LLC in Kentucky. I'm working on business cards. I'm trying to figure out the phone number thing, personal, cell phone versus a VoIP or buying a brand new phone. Uh, and I was telling Ted when we met him and Susan on Monday that when I actually start seeing people, which to me is going to be at the local libraries doing free community events to educate. What's a transition coach? What's a doula? You don't have to be afraid of dying. I literally don't imagine making any money from this in 2025. And you might be saying, Peter, I'm not in a position to not make any money. So then what you're doing, and this is just my thoughts, and I'm not calling it a side hustle. I don't know how I feel about that word. A lot of people put out videos. You can get on ADP and you can make millions of dollars, and they show you their allegedly Amazon KDP earnings report. And maybe it's real. Maybe it is for them. That doesn't mean you can. That doesn't mean I can. I'm still not at the point where I can say this is going to be my retirement journey. Um, Next week, I can possibly share an opportunity that's coming up that may be the kickoff for making this bloom even further in terms of the book writing, but I don't want to get ahead of the cart because it could fall through in a heartbeat. But instead of calling it a side hustle, you could look at what can you do in your time off that would help you start reinventing yourself. And if it's through the International Dual Life Movement, their classes is in the evenings. And they also have self-paced where you can do it on your own time. And if you pay for self-paced, they'll work with you convert to the live or on site. Your local colleges. So as I'm ending, don't let a crisis crush you. Build resilience. Build resilience so you can weather the storms. Get a mentor. I'm freely available for the time being. I can't say if you were to come and we'd have a time and it might be 8 hours, 10 hours, 60. I have no clue where it might be that your needs outweigh my ability to do it for free. I'm being transparent. But the initial ones are going to be free. And if you reach out and I'm of no value to you, you're not going to hurt my feelings by saying, Peter, this sucked. This isn't working. And even if you're not thankful. Now, hopefully, it would help you to be thankful, at least for the opportunity. Um, but anyway, that's it for this episode. Like, comment, subscribe, and God bless.